So just to go over a few basics on the airbrush machine so you know how to operate it, it's not as intimidating as it looks. It's basically learning the basics of how to run the machine and then practice, of course, like all things, until you get familiar with the muscle memory and the way it all works. So on the base level, you do need an electrical outlet to operate this airbrush machine. So we've already plugged this into the wall. Now this part here, this main hub, is called the compressor. So this is where the air comes from. On the back, there's an on-off switch, which we're not going to turn on right now because it's too noisy. Over here is a PSI adjuster. Now the PSI stands for pounds per square inch, which basically just translates into how much air is or isn't flowing through the airbrush. So from there, you have a hose that's plugged in to the compressor. The compressed air will travel through the hose into right here, which is the gun. Now this is the only tool that you're working from. This is your actual gun. Think of this as your brush of sorts. So this is called a gravity feed airbrush, which means right here is where the makeup and the paint that you are going to be putting in is going to go into. So you put your paint into here, and then using this little trigger up here, holding it kind of like a pen. Using the trigger like that, the air will actually flow through here and force the paint out. And because this is called a gravity feed, it's because gravity is actually pulling the paint down. There are some other ones you can purchase that have a cup on the bottom that will feed up for larger projects, but for something smaller like this, this is going to be an okay size. Now, the type of paint that we use for an airbrush is specific airbrush only paint. If you use a traditional foundation or any other standard paint like an acrylic or an oil paint, you will clog the machine and it will take a very long time to clean that clog out. You can actually damage the needles and things of the sort inside the actual machine if you don't use specific airbrush made products. So we use a brand called Temp2. Temp2 is a very easy to find brand. They're very durable. They're very well known in the industry. You can get them in packs such as these where they have skin tones and also shade adjusters. You can also do primary colors, which are great to have for makeup-wise specifically. As you know from the color theory that we just discussed, if you have those primary tones, you can use them to mix any other color that you'd like. So the way we're going to operate this is first you're going to shake your paint, and you'll hear there's a little ball inside of here. These airbrush paints do separate quite frequently, and it's very normal for them to separate. So you do have to give them a very good shake before you use them. Otherwise, the products as they separate it, if you use them without shaking them, they're not going to work the same. You're not going to get the same color and durability out of them. So after you've shaken the airbrush, what you do is feed the product directly into the cup here. Now you don't need a lot, and you'll see sometimes too that little ball likes to get stuck in the top, so you might have to go back and shake it again. After you've put a little bit of paint inside, you're going to go ahead and turn the machine on. Now here's how you're going to operate it. When you're holding this little motion here, if you press straight down, this is only air that's flowing out of this front part. I'm going to turn the air up a bit just so you can feel and hear it also. So just this is only air coming out of here. Now, when you press down and pull back, that's when you start to disperse the paint. So, showing you on here, on a blank white paper towel, straight down is just air. However, you can see as we pull back, we start to get color that comes out. Now, the further you pull this back, the more paint is going to go through. So if you only pull this back a small amount, you get a very light mist. However, if you pull this all the way back, you get a very full spray. So that's how you're actually going to be using it as your brush and using it to control how you want it to go. If you need something to be one flat wash of color, pulling the airbrush all the way back on the nozzle and trigger will give you a really fast full color. If you're trying to get more detail work and you're trying to do something very light, going just a little bit back will give you more control and speed over where you're working.